Todd Monken wasn't fired, John Harbaugh was. That distinction matters. When a Super Bowl-winning head coach chooses loyalty to his coordinator over job security, it elevates that coordinator's value. Now Monken's sitting in Cleveland's interview room, and the dominoes are aligning. The Browns don't just want his offensive mind, they might be angling for Harbaugh himself. His ties to Cleveland run deep, and his fallout in Baltimore turns him into the most unexpected free agent on the market.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
It's a chess move with massive implications. And yet, even this headline-worthy subplot is part of a much larger puzzle. The Browns' real focus isn't Monken or Harbaugh, it's Shadur Sanders. Every hire, from Aidan Dunn to Tommy Rees, points to a franchise rewriting its identity around quarterback development. They're not hoping Sanders can survive in Cleveland. They're designing Cleveland so he can thrive. If this gamble lands, it's not just a turnaround, it's a transformation. The Cleveland Browns just did something they haven't done in a long time. They made a plan. Not a band-aid. Not a PR stunt. Not a last-ditch effort to clean up a quarterback mess they created. No, this is real. This is layered. And it's all centered around one of the most talked-about names in the upcoming NFL draft, Shadur Sanders. Let's cut through it. This isn't just a coaching search. This isn't 5 interviews for 5 different paths. This is one carefully choreographed process, every move pointing to one purpose: build a fully developed ecosystem before handing it to a rookie quarterback. And not just any rookie. One with a high football IQ, clean mechanics, and the kind of cerebral approach you usually only see in seasoned pros. The Browns aren't hoping Shadur Sanders drops into their lap. They're preparing for him like he's already on the roster. And that's what makes this so shocking. This franchise has been defined by instability. Quarterbacks ruined by chaos. Coaches recycled. Systems never allowed to breathe. They've always reacted to the moment, never dictated it. But this time, they're doing something almost foreign in Cleveland, setting the table before the guest arrives. Start with the most logical candidate, Dan Pitcher. Pitcher is about as close to a blueprint for success as you can get when you're building around a young quarterback. He helped bring Joe Burrow from promising prospect to AFC juggernaut. That wasn't by accident. It was by design. Development wasn't something the Bengals did on the fly, it was embedded into the system. And Pitcher was a key part of that structure. Now he's on the Browns shortlist, and it's not just because of his resume. It's because of his relationship with general manager Andrew Berry. These two know how to work together. There's already a foundation of trust. No power struggles. No disconnect. That's essential when you're about to draft a quarterback you plan to build your franchise around. And Pitcher's skill set lines up perfectly with Shadur Sanders. Smart. System-focused. Built on processing, not freelancing. This isn't about molding a raw athlete. This is about developing a quarterback who's already polished. One who needs the right environment, not miracles. But it doesn't stop with Pitcher. Todd Monken's name might not be as familiar, but the impact behind it is massive. When Lamar Jackson went down in Baltimore, Monken kept the offense afloat. That's not luck. That's elite-level adaptability. In a league where schemes often fall apart without their star QB, Monken held the line. He didn't panic. He recalibrated. And then came the real headline. John Harbaugh, a Super Bowl-winning head coach, refused to fire Monken when pressured. That refusal cost him his job. That kind of loyalty doesn't come easy in this league. And it's not about friendship, it's about value. Harbaugh knew Monken's brain was too important to lose. That says everything. Now think about what happens if Monken ends up in Cleveland. Harbaugh's already out of Baltimore. His ties to the city of Cleveland aren't exactly a secret. Suddenly the Browns go from interesting to legitimate threat, if they reunite those two. That's stability. That's experience. That's instant credibility in a division that's already tilting. And then there's Tommy Rees. Let's be real, his run as interim OC in 2024 didn't turn heads. The offense sputtered and Watson's decline didn't help. But the Browns aren't hiring based on short-term performance. They're looking deeper. And what Rees brings is developmental pedigree. He came from Alabama under Nick Saban. That means something. Alabama isn't about gimmicks or quick fixes. It's about building quarterbacks the right way. Fundamentals, structure, film study, decision-making. Even in a bad season, that knowledge doesn't disappear. Rees has it. And the Browns clearly believe that's more important than whatever numbers were on the stat sheet last year. That brings us to Jim Schwartz. No coaching search. No drama. No replacements. The Browns are keeping him exactly where he is. And they should. Schwartz built one of the league's most dangerous defenses in 2024. That unit gives Cleveland something most rebuilding teams don't have. A defense that can win games on its own. That means a rookie quarterback doesn't have to play hero. He just has to manage, learn, develop, without the pressure of carrying the entire roster. That kind of support system is invaluable, especially for someone like SHEDEUR. He won't be rushed. He won't be forced to throw 40 times a game to keep them competitive. The defense will do the heavy lifting while he grows into the role. And even Aiden Dunn, despite being a lesser-known name, proves how serious the Browns are about this process. He may not be the favorite, but the fact that he was interviewed at all says everything. No shortcuts. No lazy hires. Every candidate, no matter how high or low profile, is being vetted through the same lens. Can you help build and maintain a quarterback-centric system? Not a season. A system. This is the Browns' version of laying the foundation before building the house. For once, they're not trying to fix things midstream. They're pre-planning, anticipating, preparing. And the implications go beyond just SHEDEUR. Because this approach? It's sustainable. Even if something unexpected happens, say SHEDEUR goes earlier than expected, the Browns will still have built a system that can support any young, technically sound quarterback. It's not a SHEDEUR or bust gamble. It's a quarterback-first framework. That's what real teams do. That's how you stop being a punchline. Now zoom out for a second and look at the division. The Ravens? Coaching upheaval. Still in transition. The Steelers? Still quarterback hunting. Still unsure. The Bengals? Talented, yes, but their entire identity rests on Joe Burrow's health. And then there's Cleveland. Quietly assembling something durable. Not panicking. Not chasing the next shiny thing. Just building. And for the first time, it's all structured. 5 coaching interviews. A returning defensive coordinator. A GM who isn't reacting to failure but anticipating the future. A system designed specifically for a quarterback who hasn't even arrived yet. That's how you become more than competitive. That's how you build a contender. And look, this is Cleveland. Nobody's forgetting the history. The false starts. The quarterback graveyard. The dysfunction. That legacy doesn't just vanish. But it can be buried. And this might finally be the shovel. If they hit on the coach, land SHEDEUR, and let this defense hold steady, then for the first time in decades, the Browns won't be chasing the rest of the league. They'll be leading. So what do you think? Is this finally the long-awaited turnaround, or is it just another Cleveland setup for heartbreak? Drop your take in the comments, like the video if you're cautiously optimistic, and subscribe if you want to follow every twist in what could be the Browns' most important offseason in franchise history. Because if they get this right, this won't just be a new chapter. It'll be a whole new book. At this point, the Cleveland Browns aren't just sending signals, they're screaming it loud and clear. They're done playing checkers while the rest of the league plays chess. This isn't the Browns stumbling into another rebuild. This is an orchestrated pivot, a shift in philosophy, structure, and identity. And every piece of it leads to one inevitable focal point: Shadur Sanders. Let's stop pretending otherwise. The head coaching interviews? The coordinated focus on quarterback-friendly systems? The sudden emphasis on long-term development instead of a win-now panic button? That's not a coincidence. That's an architectural blueprint for a quarterback who doesn't just need a team, but an ecosystem, a foundation, a franchise that's willing to adapt to him instead of forcing him to adapt to chaos. And if you've followed Cleveland football for longer than 5 minutes, you know how revolutionary that is. This is a team that's cycled through QBs like fantasy backups. A team that ruined more top picks than most franchises even get. The names: Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy, Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Kaiser, Baker Mayfield, each one a chapter in the same sad book. And every single time, it was the same story: a quarterback thrown into a half-finished plan. No stability. No patience. No cohesive system. This time the Browns are flipping that script. The structure is coming first. Let's be blunt. Shadur Sanders isn't built to be someone's last-minute savior. He's not a run-for-your-life, fix-our-broken-franchise with magic type of quarterback. He's cerebral, precise, system-reliant. That doesn't make him limited, it makes him exact. He needs the kind of football environment where his intelligence, discipline, and technique can elevate the team, not get buried by its dysfunction. And for once, Cleveland's building that environment. The list of coaching candidates proves it. Dan Pitcher, Todd Monin, Tommy Rees, Jim Schwartz, and Aiden Dunn aren't random names tossed into a hat. They're specialists, strategists. Every one of them brings a different angle to one unified goal: build the quarterback pipeline now, not after the draft. Dan Pitcher is the most obvious alignment piece. He helped shape Joe Burrow's early years, and Burrow didn't enter the league raw. He entered ready. But even ready quarterbacks need infrastructure. Pitcher understands how to create that. He worked closely with Burrow to build mental reps, tempo, and execution, all the same traits Shedeur brings to the table. And let's not ignore the real advantage here. Andrew Berry already knows Pitcher. This isn't a trust the new guy situation. This is familiarity, comfort. And when you're betting a top 5 pick on a quarterback, the last thing you want is friction between your GM and your head coach. With Pitcher, the transition would be seamless. But the wild card, and possibly the biggest swing of all, is Todd Monken. Monen's resume might not be filled with headlines, but what happened in Baltimore speaks volumes. When Lamar Jackson went down, Monken kept the offense from collapsing. That kind of flexibility is rare. Most coordinators get exposed without their star QB. Monken adapted. He reshaped the playbook on the fly. And he kept the team competitive in one of the toughest divisions in the league. That's the kind of offensive mind you want molding a rookie quarterback. And the Harbaugh connection? That's not just backstory, it's strategic leverage. Harbaugh refused to fire Monken. And when push came to shove, it cost him his job. That tells you everything about how much Monken is respected. And now that Harbaugh's out of Baltimore, he's a free agent. The possibility of the Browns bringing both Monken and Harbaugh into the fold isn't just intriguing, it would be a franchise-altering move. You go from chaos to stability in one offseason. From maybe to watch out. Then there's Tommy Rees. He's not going to excite fans based on 2024. His interim stint in Cleveland wasn't impressive on the surface. The offense was flat, the schemes were uninspired, and Watson's decline didn't help. But the Browns don't care about surface-level takeaways. Rees is a long-term thinker. He came up under Nick Saban at Alabama, one of the few places on earth that consistently produces NFL-ready quarterbacks. At Bama, you learn discipline. You learn how to operate inside a pro-style system. You learn how to win before you freelance. And that's exactly the type of foundation Shedeur thrives in. You don't bring in someone like Rees to save a broken offense overnight. You bring him in because he knows how to teach, develop, elevate. The Browns aren't hiring him for what happened last season, they're hiring him for what he knows and how he applies it to the next guy. Meanwhile, Jim Schwartz remains the constant in all this, and that's the smartest move they could have made. While the offense is reconstructed, the defense holds the line. Schwartz crafted a defense in 2024 that ranked among the league's elite. Pressure, discipline, coverage, you name it, they had it. And when you're bringing in a rookie quarterback, that kind of defensive safety net is priceless. A lot of rookie QBs fail because they're asked to win games too soon. They get behind early. They're forced into throwing 45 times a game. That's how bad habits start. That's how confidence gets broken. But with Schwartz running the defense, the Browns don't need shootouts. They don't need miracle comebacks. They just need competency. And that gives Shedeur, or whoever ends up under center, a real chance to grow at a natural pace. Even the Aidan Dunn interview, though it might feel peripheral, adds another layer to this story. It shows the Browns aren't cutting corners. They're not sticking to high-profile names or falling for recycled resumes. They're looking at fit, vision, long-term viability. And anyone who fits the system first, QB development mindset is getting a seat at the table. That's the kind of process that builds sustainable success. That's how you know Cleveland's front office isn't just talking about change, they're acting on it. And let's be clear, this isn't just about getting one draft pick right. It's about building a repeatable structure. A place where young quarterbacks can come in, develop, and lead without chaos waiting to pull them under. That's what Kansas City did for Mahomes. What Cincinnati built for Burrow. What San Francisco created for Purdy. And now, for the first time ever, it's what Cleveland is trying to do. The AFC North is wide open. The Ravens are in disarray. The Steelers are searching for answers. The Bengals are elite but fragile. Burrow's health is their lifeline. The Browns? Quietly, they're becoming the most organized franchise in the division. But none of it means anything if they don't finish the job. The coaching hire can't be safe. The draft pick can't be miscalculated. The system has to hold. Because if the Browns do land Shedeur and this ecosystem works, they don't just turn the page, they change the book. This becomes the era where Cleveland stopped chasing quarterbacks and started building around one. At this stage, the Cleveland Browns aren't just aiming to get it right, they're positioning themselves to become the blueprint. The same organization that's been a cautionary tale for 2 decades is now acting like the smartest room in the NFL, all centered around a quarterback they haven't even drafted yet. Let that sink in. This isn't a let's see who's left at 5 approach. This is a complete strategic reorientation with Shadur Sanders at the center before his name has even been called. The Browns aren't just scouting. They're designing, building, rebuilding, engineering an entire developmental framework that mirrors what elite organizations have done for their stars, and what Cleveland has never done for theirs. And if you're still thinking this is just another coaching search, look again. The Browns didn't just look for the best available. They zeroed in on 5 very specific candidates: Dan Pitcher, Todd Monin, Tommy Rees, Jim Schwartz, and Aiden Dunn. Each one of them selected not because of headlines but because of function, fit, philosophy. Dan Pitcher is the most obvious bridge between where the Browns are and where they want to be. He's worked in one of the most quarterback-driven environments in the league, Cincinnati. That team didn't just stumble into Joe Burrow's success. They built around him with intention. They gave him space to develop timing-based plays and a coaching staff that spoke the same language. Pitcher understands how that works because he helped implement it. He's lived inside that structure. And Andrew Berry knows this, because he's already worked with Pitcher. The trust is there. The collaboration would be immediate. No power struggles. No cultural dissonance. It's the kind of relationship that allows a young quarterback to step into a fully aligned organization. Not chaos. Not scrambling. A plan. Then there's Todd Monin, arguably the most under-the-radar power move in this entire process. You don't keep your job in Baltimore unless you're elite at your role. You especially don't keep it when your star quarterback goes down mid-season, unless you have the kind of scheme flexibility that Todd Monin showed last year. When Lamar Jackson was sidelined, Monin didn't flinch. He adjusted. He protected the system. He kept the Ravens' offense on the rails when most coordinators would have driven it into the ground. That's not just play calling. That's leadership. And then John Harbaugh refused to fire him. Wouldn't even entertain it. He lost his own job rather than sacrifice Monin. That doesn't happen in the NFL unless you're dealing with someone exceptional. So now Monin is on the Browns' radar, and the most interesting part? If he comes, Harbaugh might follow. That's not speculation. That's just logical progression. Harbaugh has Cleveland roots. He has history. And if his loyalty to Monin is as deep as it seems, the possibility of that pairing landing in Cleveland would be a massive credibility shift. Harbaugh brings championship culture. Stability. Respect. If he walks through that door, everything changes. Suddenly, the Browns don't just have a plan. They have people who've executed that plan before. Now you've got Tommy Rees. And yes, on the surface, Rees might feel like the weak link. His time as interim OC in 2024 wasn't flashy. The offense was inefficient. The system didn't work. But context matters. Rees was dropped into a decaying offense with a fading Deshaun Watson and a scheme that wasn't his. He wasn't building. He was managing damage. And the Browns know that. They aren't holding 2024 against him, they're looking at his Alabama credentials. At Alabama, Rees was more than a coordinator. He was part of a machine that builds NFL-ready quarterbacks. Not just from a skill standpoint, but from a mental, structural, and cultural standpoint. And when you're looking to develop a quarterback like Shadur, someone who thrives in structure, precision, and film study, you want someone like Rees in the building. He's not a flashy hire. He's a foundation piece. And then there's Jim Schwartz. He's not part of the offensive brain trust, but he might be the most important piece of this puzzle in year one. Schwartz is staying. That's already decided. And that's not just about defensive continuity, it's about protection. Because no matter how good Shadur Sanders is, he's still going to be a rookie in a brutal division. The AFC North doesn't ease you in. It tests you from day one. And that's where Schwartz comes in. His defense doesn't just keep games competitive, it can win games. And that means Shadur, or any rookie quarterback, doesn't have to carry the franchise on his back. He doesn't have to play hero ball. He doesn't have to overextend himself and develop bad habits just to keep the team in it. He gets to grow at a sustainable pace. Because Schwartz's defense will buy him time. Literally. And even the inclusion of Aiden Dunn proves how methodical this search really is. Dunn might not have the profile of the other names, but he fits the mold. Development-focused. System-aware. Forward-thinking. He wouldn't be interviewed if the Browns weren't absolutely committed to turning over every stone and building this quarterback-centric ecosystem. This isn't about chasing a hot name. This is about alignment. From the top down. And the timing? Couldn't be better. The AFC North is ripe for the taking. The Ravens are reeling from internal shakeups. The Steelers are still in quarterback limbo. The Bengals are entirely dependent on Joe Burrow's health, and that's proven to be far from stable. Cleveland? They're steadying the ship. And they're doing it before the storm hits. They aren't waiting for the draft to decide their direction. They're already paving the runway. That means that when Shadur Sanders walks into that building, if he's the pick, he won't be asked to save the franchise. He'll be walking into one that's finally ready for him. This is what the great franchises do. Kansas City didn't hand Mahomes a broken team. They let him sit behind Alex Smith, learn from Andy Reid, and step into a functioning machine. Cincinnati didn't force Burrow to perform miracles. They built around him, supported him, protected him. That's what Cleveland is doing now, for the first time. No more drafting a QB and then hiring the offensive staff. No more rebuilding the line after the quarterback's taken 40 sacks. No more plugging holes with panic hires and hoping the rookie adjusts. This is the plan. Build the incubator first. Then hand the keys to the quarterback you've already built it for. And that's what this entire coaching process is about. 5 names. 1 goal. Create a structure so airtight, so unified, that any technically sound high IQ quarterback will thrive inside it. But let's not kid ourselves. This is being built with Shadur Sanders in mind. This isn't subtle. It's just smart. And if it works, Cleveland won't just have a quarterback. They'll have a culture, a system, a program that finally, looks like it belongs in the modern NFL. So what's your take? Are the Browns finally turning into the franchise fans have been waiting for? Or is this just another clean-sounding rebuild that collapses when the lights come on? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like the video if you're seeing something different in this year's Browns, and subscribe if you want the full ride, because this offseason, it might be the one that changes everything.